yeah, I mean, your whole emphasis in your work is on the moral development of children. So how is that working with what the Baha'i children's classes, for example?
Well, the Baha'i children's classes are very much about the spiritual education of the child, and that's, first of all, I guess, is to recognise that we are spiritual beings and that we have a creator, and that we become involved in the worshipping of that creator by learning prayers. You know, in a way we would see prayers as conversation with God. We talk about meditation, I guess that is opening the heart and listening, and understanding that what is the message that we need to do when we are trying to work out how do we live our daily lives. And so with young children we have a particular focus on understanding about the virtuous behaviour that is necessary as a spiritual being. And that we can look to the lives of the early founders and the great teachers that are within the Baha'i community. So it's not about a process of indoctrination, because we engage children from the wider community and parents that want to see their children experience a spiritual education. And so we're looking more at the broader ideas of ourselves, of how do we live our day-to-day life, how do we solve the challenges. You know, currently at the moment we have a lot of children that are experiencing bullying, and to me that is just the lack of spiritual qualities, that of being gentle, of being considerate, of being empathetic. And we tend to become, you know, involved in how do we stop bullying rather than understanding that it's actually a spiritual disease that we're dealing with here. And if we teach children to be kind and to be gentle and to be considerate, then many of these disaffected behaviours fall away.
And you also mentioned about the youth and their contribution, their ability to contribute to the community. And I know the Junior Youth Empowerment Program that the Baha'i community runs throughout the world is geared towards doing exactly that.
Yes, and educationally, as a developmental stage, as children between the ages of 11 and 14 really have a missionary zeal about wanting to see the world to become a better place. And I think that we've often, as a community, not actually empowered young people to be outward looking and to look at their communities and to see how they can work with it. For example, one of the things that I know in Australia is that they met some of the young people in the community that were creating graffiti in the area, and so they encouraged these people to be participating in the Youth Empowerment Program, which is really looking at the sort of moral choices and the day-to-day activities and how do you go about it. It's not about teaching people about the Baha'i faith, but rather about how do you live your day-to-day life. And they became so enamoured of this particular program, and that the shop that they'd graffitied on, they decided that they needed to make amends for this. And so they actually went to the shopkeeper and said, I would like to really apologise, and is there some sort of service activity that we could do to make amends for what we've done? And the shop owner was so impressed that these young people could actually reflect upon their behaviour, and then not only reflect upon it, but then want to make it good, you know, in the way that they're working with. And I think that this is really an important thing for adults to look at with their young people, is that they've got all this energy, this restless energy, and they want to do something with it. And so the more that we can actually create our communities, which in many ways we've lost a sense of community because everybody's so busy working and not doing, but to really help our young people, to train them to be effective in this way and to work with the wider community to be able to do projects and activities that are going to be meaningful to the whole community. And also these junior youth are very good at working with like the children, you know, sort of, and providing sort of service and activities for the children. So, you know, it's really developing their capacity to contribute to service.
So that we've covered the children, we've covered the youth. What about adults? How do they fit into this?
Well, I think there's a great spiritual thirst at the moment with adults, and we've just been on this journey around the world. And one of the things that you see is that people really feel this sort of desire to connect with people and to find a way of being able to explore topics that are meaningful to them. And so one of the things that we offer is a space for people to come together and to pray, and you can bring any writings from any of the great world religions, and that you use these and take particular topics. For example, understanding the role and status of women, and having something that we focus on in that particular area, so that any of these themes then become also the cause for discourse, for talking about, you know, what we can do to actually solve some of these problems. So that we tend to think, well, the government has to fix that, or the council needs to fix that, rather than understanding understanding, the more we actually talk together and find the creative solutions at the grassroots level, which is what we're doing in the neighbourhoods, is bringing people together of like-minded thought to replenish ourselves and to be able to develop this creative capacity to worship God, but also to use the creative word of God.